One of the things I did, I was worried because so many of my doors all had deadbolts where you just turn the knob. Well, Leia was 2. She figured out how to do that, or sooner. So I changed them to keys. People always laugh when they're in my house. They're like, you need a key to get out? What, are you locking us in? Like, yeah, well, yeah, I am. And until it's safe enough for her to be able to get out, and I know she's good. So that's not expensive either.
It's not. And it goes back to just the same as the commissioner and the Look Before You Lock program. Yeah. It's not that big of a deal to turn around and look in your car, but you have to get yourself into that routine. Every parent has that internal clock where you realize that your house is too quiet, and now you got to go figure out why it's too quiet. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, and myself included, those first seconds of quiet are wonderful. You're away from it's, oh my gosh, I had a complete thought and it wasn't interrupted.
And then it's, oh my God, I had a complete thought and it wasn't interrupted.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that internal clock where we have, and we get that to the point where it is, it's too quiet, I need to go figure it out. Unfortunately, that amount of time, whatever it is, your child could be in danger. Your child could be at the pool. They could have gotten to the canal. They could have wandered outside, or they could still be in the car seat in the back of the vehicle. And temperatures are spiking right now, and you see it everywhere across the country as the heat comes up. And here in South Florida, just with the temperatures that we get and the humidity, a child left in a car doesn't have a chance. No. And it's a tragedy every time it happens.
Ken, I want to bring you in the SWIMS Foundation. What's that? What is that?
Well, back in 1999, boy, it seems like so long ago, when we first started getting this whole Swim Central initiative together, there were several of us that were just outraged at the amount of children that were just dying concerning the water safety issue, the drowning prevention issue. And then a group of us just got together, spurred on by a couple of newspaper articles, and we decided that we were going to try to do something about it. And so everybody came together, the Red Cross, the county, the school board, and all of these entities came together, and then we tried to decide what we would do to help curb this initiative, to curb this drowning problem. And I had already started a program in Pompano called Every Child a Swimmer, whereas we were already bringing kids over from local elementary schools where they just walk over, local elementary schools that was closest to their pools. And we started doing a 30-minute swimming program. And that's how basically Swim Central came. And they were saying, well, it's going to be so expensive, this and that. And I said, well, I do it for $2.60 per child. And they said, well, that's sellable, we can do that. So now we started on this long road now, and we have taught how many, about 2 million?
We've done 2.5 million lessons since we've started, and 400,000 children. Since Ken and the commissioner, back when she was on the school board, and Irene, the former commissioner Irene Lieberman, who was heading this, Eileen, excuse me. Since that started.
And with CSC, we joined in as soon as we were created.
CSC is our biggest advocate, but we put 400,000 children through the program, and since its inception, not one of those children has had a drowning or non-fatal or non-fatal drowning incident after going through the program.
And that's the cool thing, that this program now is 100% effective as far as its statistic. When you look at everybody that came through the program, are now reaching those ages where they can become lifeguards and carry on and pay forward again. So it's just amazing looking at the statistical information. But one thing that I just really want to say once again is that it just takes a momentary lapse of adult supervision for anything to happen wrong in your household, in your family, at the mall, anytime. So you have to watch them at all times. You have to watch them, and that's the thing. Mom might think that dad is watching, or brother might think that sister is watching. It's just a momentary lapse, and I am living proof that those CPR skills, that those early defibrillation, and that what to do in the event of emergency, reach or throw, don't go, that sort of thing. Swim with a buddy in a supervised area. All of these type of things need to come into play, and we need to constantly replay that song in our heads all the time in our lives, that we need to watch our kids, all the time. You have to have that adult supervision just to make sure that something strange doesn't happen.
So for people who would want to get involved and help in some way, or who have children that they're concerned about, they could get lessons through Swim Central? How would that work?
Well, the Swim Central program, and through what CSC is able to do, we've taken Ken's initial idea and we've expanded it countywide. And last year we were in 184 elementary schools with both the Head Start program, so we're hitting the 3-year-olds, the VPKs hitting the 4-year-olds, and the 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and the kindergartens and even some first grade classes are getting to go. And we would love to see every child go through.
And thanks to the county commission
Right.
and the CSC and the school board, those lessons are free.
That's true. They're at no cost to the parents. All they have to do is sign the permission slip, and they tell us, the schools tell us when they want to go, and my office handles transportation. We schedule the buses, we schedule the pools, we talk to the pools to make sure that they're instructors, and we go out and we actually go out and we check on the lessons. I have evaluators in the field who are out there making sure that the ratios are there, and that we're doing that the vendors and the contractors that we have in place are doing the right thing, and they're moving the kids through the curriculum as best they can. We have goals that we meet as far as how the children are doing. We structure it so it's at a 2-week block rather than over the course of 3 weeks with random days. We try and do it in 2-week blocks to make it easier on the schools and to make it easier on the parents. They know that for the next 2 weeks they have to send their child either in a swimsuit or with a swimsuit to school, depending on how the teachers want to handle that.
So I understand sometimes a principal or a parent who doesn't know how to swim and may be afraid of the water themselves, may be reluctant for their child to have this experience. Commissioner, what would you say to a parent or a principal who might deny that opportunity?
First of all, I think that if the parent chooses to deny the opportunity, then the parent can do that, but the principal has no right to do that. So I would suggest that if it is the principal that is not allowing that opportunity to go home with the child and let the parent make that decision, I wish that we could make the decision for the parents if I was in charge, but there are parental rights.
Right.
So we have to respect that. But principals, I would really suggest that if you know, or parents know of particular schools, or their child was in pre-K or Head Start or kindergarten, and their child was never offered this opportunity, look into it, find out, make a phone call your school board member, ask. That's what I would do, because I don't think that any school should deny the child and their family the opportunity to save their life.
And I want to bring Ken in here for a second, because I know in the African American community there's a lot of fear of water and swimming, and many never learned to swim themselves, so they may be reluctant to get their children signed up. What would you want to tell them?
Well, one of the things I saw a recent study done by USA Swimming that proclaimed that 70 to 80% of the African American community did not know how to swim. But then I need to look at that particular data and say, well, what does that mean? What is the definition of swimming? I mean, I'm sure there are probably a lot of people that if they fall in the water, they might be able to make it to the edge or whatever. But if they look at someone like Jay or myself, I mean, we are accomplished swimmers. We can get in and we can swim miles, that sort of thing. Oh, no, I'm not a swimmer. But can you save yourself, that sort of thing. So it just, we have to look at the data, one thing. And then the other thing is this, is that we have to look at the historical record too. For thousands of years, there were people of color that were the best swimmers on the planet. And then along came this thing called slavery, and they said, well, if you learn how to swim, then you can get away. So now for 300-400 years, that whole thing has taken place where they've taken away their heritage. They don't know how to swim now, and that fear is in there. So, but the spirit of fear is not in us when it comes to swimming, really, to tell you the truth. I mean, if we learn early and we do repetition, and we use a learning method, a mnemonic called MARS, where we motivate them, give them something they can associate with, repeat it repetitively, and let them use their senses, then we can ensure that behavior has changed. And then we can change that behavior. So the thing is, educating people in water safety, reach or throw, don't go. If something were to happen, you don't want to dive in the water, especially if you're not specifically trained for that. Then you have to realize that there are things that you can use all around you to help you.
And for people who would want to get involved in the SWIMS Foundation, can they?
Absolutely. We have a brand new Facebook page, the SWIMS Foundation Facebook page. You can try it and like it. There's some great information in there, water safety tips. Also, the SWIMS Foundation has a website, swimsfoundation.org, where people can also get some more information and learn more about how they can get involved. I'd like to get a core of people that could be a core of volunteers that could go out and help support events in water safety and get the message out, the gospel of water safety.
It's interesting because, as Ken said that, no one is born not knowing how to swim. I know there's a double negative in there, sorry, I apologize to my high school English teacher, but we're all born with the ability to swim. And it's only through, oftentimes, the fear that a parent puts in a child where they develop that fear and that reluctance to get in the water. I was at a water safety event down in Hollywood because we recently had a young man drown in the rip currents out in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And so we were down there doing beach education, rip current safety, you know, what to do, break the lock, how do you get out. But a few weeks before, I had been at one of our vendors that was doing an evening. And I had a mom run up to me and go, "Oh, it's great, my kids learned in 3 days." And I said, "Okay, tell me about it." And it was all because she got in the water afterwards and she played with. The neighbor who went through the same thing didn't. So.
Well, and that's a great place to leave, to remind everybody, don't be afraid, get in the water, do what you need to do. Thank you so much. It's great to live in South Florida, but let's keep our children free from harm by remembering to never leave them alone in any vehicle. Make sure your child care center has the locks that they need, and teach your children and parents to be safe in and around water. I'd like to thank Commissioner Lois Wexler, Ken Rowland, Janice Carter, and Jay Sanford for their leadership and ongoing efforts in improving the lives of the children of Broward County. I have been your host, Cindy Ehrenberg-Seltzer, President and CEO of the Children's Services Council of Broward County, where our mission is to empower Broward's children to become responsible, productive adults, capable of realizing their full potential, their hopes, and their dreams. For copies of this program or any other episode of Future First, please call the Children's Services Council at 954-377-1000 or visit www.cscbroward.org. Like us on Facebook, and remember to join us next time on Future First. Focus on Broward's children.
The water. Straighten out those legs when you kick. Don't bend your knees. Kick from your hips. Straighten